Hi, this is Melissa Vasquez with MPA 594. In this week's presentation, week 6, I'm going to talk to you about two concepts that fit into our GPA section and two that fit into our PSML section, and how the theories we have discussed so far apply to these concepts. And the first one I have is actually another theory within our Classics of Public Administration Shafrit textbook. And this one, it's called The Possibility of Administrative Ethics by Dennis F. Thompson. And one of the things that it talks about is how ethics applies to the administrative side of government. And one of the sections that really spoke to me that I want to focus on is that it says that for one of the concepts of ethics of structure, it says that because government is incremental, or at least the classical way of looking at ethics was that because policy is incremental, that there isn't one exact person or leader who can take the blame. Let's say that something goes wrong, and the article argues though that whether whether it was the person, whether there was someone who initiated an action that caused wrongness, or um, or especially when it was through omission, administrators are to know that they are capable and they are to be held at higher levels for foreseeing these kinds of issues that might come up in the future, because they know government, because they're expected to have the training, the qualifications as administrators, and that at times that having the good intention that turns wrong is can only be excusable for so long, and that organizations develop patterns, and when these patterns are repeated, the organization, the agency, has to be limited in the many times they can escape responsibility. So how does this apply to AGPA? Well, in terms of accountability, the administrators are accountable to superiors, but they're also accountable to citizens, to the organization, and to each other. And administrators should exercise moral judgment when making these policies. So, some of the supporting theories that I've found, for instance, for one, is how the branches, legislative branch, the judicial branch, and in the executive branch, they hold each other accountable into what they can make. It needs certain votes. The president cannot just do something just because they feel like it. So it's kind of keeping that uh, checks and balances in place. And so is the case with administrators, where they can't just do something because they feel that it's going to be good for the rest. No, they have to have other people. They're subject to public scrutiny, and in addition to, as it's stated in the article, that administrators are to have knowledge about the positions that they're in. Well, this is part of the Pendleton Act, where administrators are to be placed in their positions based on merit, so they can fully carry out their duties, and they have an obligation to superiors, organizations, and to the public. So this is the first GPA concept. Now, the second GPA concept that I did was program evaluation. So we all remember that class, that nightmare of a class we had, concepts of statistics, and one of the things that we learned in that class is when we're finding a solution to a problem, Well, sometimes there are problems in which we don't know the root cause. Is there really a root cause? This is addressed by Rivlin's Wicked Problems, in which we try to find solutions to the immediate problem, but is it really finding the problem itself? Well, as we were working through our statistical analysis, or building our framework for a statistical analysis, the main question that we were worried about trying to find was, did this program do that? And that is actually a measure. Uh, I would say that this is also an accountability thing, where um, we're trying to find if whatever program was pushed by our politicians or whatever comes in through legislation, that our actions are actually doing what they're supposed to do. Are we using the resources as best as we can? And one of the theories that applies to this is Alice Rivlin's of having performance measures, and that these are needed in order to find out how it is that we're addressing. It states that whatever actions we take need to reflect the difficulty of the problem, and this is what the program evaluations are meant to do, just to ensure that whatever resources we're using, that we're able to provide that transparency to the public, to our superiors, to ensure that the programs are doing what they were meant to do. Now, going on to uh, PSML. One of the concepts in our organizational behavior book was that of the corporate social responsibility and job satisfaction. And basically, what it states is that corporate social responsibility is where an organization itself is self-regulated or has self-regulated actions to benefit society or the environment beyond to what it is required by law to do. And it's associated to job satisfaction because, especially now with millennials want to feel that they're serving a higher purpose, and these values that employees hold, if they align to an organization, it leads them to become more satisfied with the job that they do. It allows them uh, to do more for the company. And I think this is an important part of Henri Fayol's Spirit du Corps, where it's developing that pride of who you are, that pride of uh, the organization you belong to, kind of having what the army or the Marines they have, where it just brings them together and they want to do more, and they're driven to do more and accomplish that mission statement. It is also something that Simon Herbert discusses, where he says that it is important for organizations to scientifically develop a relevant description of the organization pertaining to why do they do what they do, in defining the values and letting that force drive employees. It motivates employees. Finally, the last concept I have here is in terms of labor relations, more specifically with bargaining contracts. And now, bargaining contracts, it's a method of also attracting the right employees. So, bargaining contracts not only work with um, working with government agencies to find the hours, the rules for hours and vacations and pay and merit increases. Um, and this is part of, again, motivation in attracting employees and finding what is important to people so that they can be um, intrinsically motivated. Maslow touches upon this, that when an individual feels their security needs are met, like for instance, that they have shelter, that they have food on the table, um, that is mainly where I fit it with bargaining contracts. Uh, where they are issued, these protections and ensuring that they can have these basic needs. I think this is when people feel that this is going to be met, they can go on to the next level of the hierarchy and go into esteem. Um, do they feel like they're part of a group? Do they feel like they belong there? But I think the bargaining contracts, especially when it comes to pay and sick leave, this is where it meets that first level of needs of self-esteem. This concludes my presentation. Thank you everyone for watching.